Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pam, would you do a roll call, please?
Mayor Kime.
Here.
Alderwoman Cleghorn. Here. Alderman Smith.
Here.
Alderman Donovan.
Here.
Alderman Bennett.
He said here.
Alderman Eidman.
Here.
Alderman Rainey.
Here.
Alderman Prince.
Here.
Alderman Steiger.
Here.
Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you. Move to approval of tonight's agenda.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Don't believe we have any presentations or awards tonight, so we'll move to personal appearance. I think Chip Marzuko is here to give us a rundown from the ATV event.
Well, I want to thank you all for letting me come down, and basically just want to say thank you for letting us do what we did again. We had an outstanding event. We had over 600 plus UTVs, and knock on wood, I didn't hear anything from any of the police or the sheriff or anything from any activity problems. I didn't hear from Kathy from down at the French Heritage. I think we worked together and got everything lined up that way very well. So I guess I'm here just to, I talked to the Fair Board on Monday night, and they approved us to do it at their event or their venue again next year, and I was just wanting to make sure you guys are all kind of on board and there was no issues, because if there is, now's the time to find out and fix them before we have more people for next year. So
I heard nothing.
I didn't either.
Nothing but good things.
Little
Yeah, I was just going to say.
yeah,
I heard rave reviews
Right.
and congratulations on such a successful event. That was excellent. I saw pictures too. It looked amazing. So
thank you. Yep, it was like a small fair up there. It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
It was really good. All
very
right.
cool.
So it's going to be the same time next year, second full weekend in June. Alrighty. And we're going to keep it all going the same direction, if that's all right then.
Yeah,
Good deal.
sounds
Appreciate
great.
all your hard work.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a lot.
Do you have any numbers to report?
Oddly enough, we don't. We just, to give you an odd example, Joe, since Monday, we've had one company send a $1,000 check. 3 people came in and gave checks, and we just got another $3,200 today. So it's a great problem. I mean, it's still mind boggles me, because the event is doubled from what last year is, and it's still growing. So, and it's all for a great cause. So it's all good. So yeah, nothing for sure besides that it's doubled. All righty. But thank you guys for participating and backing us on all that. We appreciate it very much.
Our pleasure. Thank you, Chip.
Thanks,
Appreciate it. Move to City Administrator's report.
So you've got an updated report at your seats. Item 3, we have determined that the date we're going to move out of City Hall to 44 Plaza Drive will be Tuesday, August 15th. We're looking at that taking all day. So we'll start at 8 in the morning and probably not finish until 5 or 6 that night. We'll have to get all of our computers and everything else up and running for the next day, hoping we get that done that evening, and then we're ready to go on Wednesday morning. So it'll be a quick transition. That we'll have a budget hearing that week, so we'll still try to have that at 44 Plaza. If that doesn't work, we'll move it to the firehouse. But we should be ready to go. We're moving everything from both sides. Item 4, we appropriated $15,000 in ARPA funds for a dual vehicle EV charging station. We were going to go for matching federal funds, put in an application. We started that. I was needing to get an electrical quote so I could include that as some of the information to send to the feds. But I can't just make it up myself. I needed somebody to give me a number. The person I asked to do that did not get that information to me. So at this point, we're sitting with $15,000, but that's how much the dual charger costs. If you would like for me to purchase that, we can purchase it, set it aside temporarily, and then maybe allocate some extra ARPA funds that we don't use, and look at putting it over at the bathrooms. Now that we're looking a little closer at moving or transferring the Welcome Center to the National Park Service, it might be wiser to put it on our property somewhere downtown. And the space that I see the most accessible and also out of the way would be behind the bathrooms. We could do that along Valley Street. We've got area in front that we could cut out, build a retaining wall, and put in parking spaces and have a dual charger back there. And we have electric, whereas at the Welcome Center, we would really need to pull it off the pole to get it to the chargers that would be down in the corner of the parking lot. So it's something we can talk about, but I just kind of wanted to prep you as to where we are with that project.
So does that technology change that much with those charging stations? I mean, I've seen some of them and they're digital and credit card and, that'd be my only concern is if there's something.
That they're going to change that quickly, not that I know of, but I mean, I can't predict on those. I don't have enough knowledge on them.
Right.
These are the same ones we looked at a couple of years ago, so whatever upgrades they've made at this point. This is not the fast charging, this is the overnight charging ones that takes about 7 hours, which is fine, even if somebody shows up during the day, they can stop in town, walk around, check everything out, and then have their vehicle charged and go home that afternoon. So I don't see these as being as much of an issue maybe as the fast chargers.
Right. But I mean, wasn't it, those numbers we talked about then, it was well over $100,000 to get that thing up and running.
That's the tier 3 ones. That's the fast chargers.
Okay.
This is the tier 2. This is the one right below it.
So the incidental costs to get this up and running are nowhere near that.
No.
Did you get your quote back from the other contractor?
Never got it.
I'm concerned about, and in a way, I think it's a great place to put it down there at Main Street Park, but parking back there on Valley, leaving a car overnight, it doesn't, I mean, it's got a street light there, I think, if I remember right. I'm just wondering how well used it's gonna get down there in that location. I mean, it's nice to have a park right there with a bathroom and it's accessible and they can get to the other downtown merchants, but did we have any other proposed sites that we could put it besides behind back on Valley? It just
Unless you
seems
want to put one at City Hall, we could put them on this gravel lot out to the side.
That was just your idea where to put it. That wasn't saying that was the only place it could be put.
That's the only spot I've seen that I
Right.
thought worked with getting people downtown and keeping them there. Welcome
Yeah.
Center is the best spot, but I don't know if we want to do that if we're looking at a transfer.
With respect to the Welcome Center as well, can I just ask a quick, I'm going to dovetail in here. Are we going to be deeded any space with the
Well, I'd like to have a big discussion about
Welcome
that.
Center?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are we going to have any place for a kiosk or a desk and one of our employees to go down and work with? And if we got that before we changed hands, perhaps that would be the best place to have this charger as well, if they allowed us to do that as well.
And that was an agreement we can work with.
Would that be
with them.
something? Would that be something to think about?
I want to have a discussion about the
Okay.
tourism center, so if we can maybe stay on the EV charger for just a
And I
second.
just thought because of the
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
So, I mean, the City Hall would seem to be an okay spot too. Was there any discussion about any other places that might work?
The county's talked about putting one in their parking lot.
Yeah,
That's their parking lot. They were looking at the fast chargers too. I don't know if they've pursued it or they're going to pursue it, but they've talked about it.
Well, if they're looking at getting the better one, can't we just work with them and combine resources and get a good? I mean,
Well-
I don't know how many people are gonna wanna have their car sitting somewhere for 7 hours to be charged when we can, maybe partner with the county and help them with their installation. It doesn't have to be on our property, but
I don't have a problem with that. I don't know if they don't allocate by the end of next year and then spend it by 26, then you just lose that or have to send that money back. So, I mean, we've got it at this point.
I mean, I just think throwing money at a charger that
We do have to send it back.
isn't sufficient is throwing money away. I'd rather go for the good one, and we can't afford the good one, so why not help the county out with theirs?
Right.
But what was the strings tied to this that we have to send the money back?
ARPA money.
Oh.
This is ARPA funding from the federal government. So this is the state and local government, it's SLFRF. So they're fiscal funds that we have to then send back.
And what is our time frame?
We have to allocate, we've already allocated, so we're in good shape on that, but we have to spend it by December 31st of 2026.
Can we table this and maybe ask you to have a discussion with the county to see if that upgraded charger or that location, or, I'm okay with Valley Street if that's, I don't want to say the last resort, but if we have till December, we've got some time maybe to.
The idea is to at least get the thought started. This is what I.
Is there any other city property where we could put it in the downtown area?
And like Joe's,
I
and
know
like,
we're on Market Street, but Alderman Bennett's speaking, but I can't.
I don't know what's wrong with it. Hang on. I don't know why we're not hearing tonight.
are you unmuted?
Yeah,
And I'm trying to get him.
on the TV, I've got the TV turned up.
But
So I don't know what's going on.
Eric, are you muted on your side?
He's not, no, he's been off for a little bit.
Smartphone connected.
Let's try this. All right, try again. I don't know why we're not hearing.
I guess we can buy it at any time, right?
I think we should seriously think about moving forward.
I know he can hear us, but I don't know why we're not hearing him. Because I got somebody that wants to talk to me, that's why.
That's my ward,
I'm
man.
telling you.
It's gotten much better. Have you seen it? The trigger's gone.
No, I'm talking to
Everything looks
Eric.
good. You hurt my heart.
All right, Eric, we can hear you. Except now you're frozen.
That's a great view, by the way. It's a great pose.
Remind me never
Put-
to
Put that on the website.
Hey,
Try now.
I've tried turning on the video, I can't.
Oh, my.
Yeah, so we're waiting for Eric to, he had a question.
Can you hear me now?
Ah.
Yes. Can you hear us?
Yes?
Okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry. What about next to the bathrooms on Jefferson Street side?
We're getting ready to put a sidewalk, and I don't think we have enough side room to be able to put in a wide enough parking space. Or I should say, long enough parking space. We need at least 20 feet. And then we're probably bumping up too close to the building.
Okay.
I would think that'd be a good spot, but if there's not enough room.
Yeah, I measured it off today. It wasn't, it didn't look like it was enough room for us to mess with. So, yeah, that's why I was looking at the spot that I was. So, all right, we'll look, I'll talk to the county and we'll look at this a little further.
And also, when we get to that welcome center, that might be, if that is feasible, that would be a great spot too.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that complicates.
Yeah. Item 7, we'll be going out for bid soon on the Jefferson Street Sidewalk Stormwater Project. We received plans, estimated cost is $65,000. So we will put that out for bid. This is not budgeted, but it's also one of our sidewalk projects that we need to get done because there's been a hole in that sidewalk for a long time. So it will entail working on the stormwater swale underneath and then putting in a new sidewalk. It's more like a bridge because it's going to have rebar and be 5 inches thick because it'll be over that inlet and then there'll be openings on the side to let the water
That's the
in.
300 block, that's across from Valley?
Yeah,
Okay.
So how far down does that go?
about halfway, I think past the first house. You can see at that point, you've got pipes that stick out
Right,
from
those-
the current.
right.
Yeah. And then Tom Kine passed along today a matching funding opportunity from the Delta Regional Authority. It's through SEMO Regional Planning. That's who has that connection. This is a grant that could help the city pay for the infrastructure on Bosler Drive. So it is we're looking at a $1.3, $1.5 million project. There's a possibility we can get up to $500,000. I don't have time because I found out today we didn't have time to put it on as an agenda item to allocate money or to at least dedicate a certain fund to match that. That can come later, but if you want me to pursue it, I can. The application has to be in by Sunday, and then it really is fully due in about 2 weeks after that. So RPC is willing to help work on that grant. So this does not pay for the whole thing, this pays for a portion of that street. So I didn't want to obligate the city because we have said in a resolution that we want to put in the street. However, we have not appropriated money for that, and that's part of what's in that resolution, is that money would be appropriated potentially. It is not a given.
But I'm all for it. Can I move for, I know I can't, but, and a second reading, you know. But yeah, I'm all in favor of
I'm all in
pursuing.
favor as well.
Okay, I just want to make sure that, the board is not, when this comes back to you saying we are putting in for this and we
Yeah.
have fully invested ourselves in this application, that it's like, I don't think we want to, we don't want to appropriate that money, sorry. I don't want to do that, especially if we would by chance get it. Okay, all right, we'll move further on that and do that tomorrow.
So does that give you proper time to properly,
I mean, yeah, I mean, we can do it. I mean, we'll have to do it, so.
The good news is we just have to have a piece of that application to them by Sunday. The actual grant proposal does not have to be submitted for
Couple weeks,
a few
right.
weeks. And Seymour Regional is going to help us write the grant proposal. It feels like it was brought to our attention because not many municipalities or entities had applied for money, and it was kind of sitting there. So it feels like the project may meet the scope, so.
so that is the maximum grant is the 500,000, right? I'd say go for it.
And they take a number of factors into consideration on how much they award, but with the investment that we would be making on our own,
Right.
it should bode well, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Thanks in advance, Happy, for the work you're gonna have to do before Sunday.
Harley, you might want to thank Margaret first.
Okay.
She's going to be putting in.
Thanks, Margaret.
She'll know most of it. She'll know most of what needs to be done. Any questions about anything else on there? All right.
Thank you, Happy. Move to staff reports, and we'll start with our tourism director, Tanelin.
Hello, board members. I apologize, I was not able to get the video to work, so you're not going to see my mug. I want to begin, if I can, with the new business that I shared with the Tourism Tax Commission and Advisory Board. And I found some information, research that I think is very important. 90% of people will avoid visiting a new place if they have a poor planning experience, if it's time consuming, and they're looking for a better fit for everyone in their traveling group. So lack of knowledge and difficulty finding and deciding on what to do were the number one reasons why people avoided going to a destination. And the research also indicated that they were looking for traveling, being able to customize their itinerary, and most importantly too, is being able to change it on the fly. So to me, this, built somewhat of a business case again for implementing Visit Widget, and I asked the board if they would be open to that, and the conclusion, a result of it was that, if it could be implemented, does it need to be implemented right away? The question that I am going to answer for them is I'm going to go to Visit Widget and also our website maintenance group and find out if it can be added onto the current site, even with all the things that need to be into the current site, would it be functional? And if it is, at least we can offer information on an event plan, an itinerary that's customizable and has all these features. And to support some of that, I followed up with the board with an interview from Eric Holman, who runs the website and so forth for Lake of the Ozarks. He was one of the references. And I don't know if you've had a chance to review some of that information. Is that attached in your packet? Hello?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll have to follow up with all of you on it. At any rate, some of the highlights of that conversation is that they were specifically looking to add an itinerary planning to the website. Their customers plan their trips. Usually it starts from the desktop, then it moves onto the mobile. They are actually, they don't use the kiosks feature. In your discussions just now, I can let you know that Visit Widget does integrate with kiosk. They have relationships with kiosk manufacturers, so they could become a resource. And their software, whether you go with one of their partners or not, their software gets uploaded on there. So we would have full integration, right? We would have it on the website, we would have it on a mobile device, and we would also have it as a kiosk. And we'd be working with the same solution provider. The other thing that he mentioned that I thought was important, he said that visitors, about 60 to 70% of their visitors use the mobile app for dining and events. So it's really important to them. Right now, what they're doing is they are testing ads, which is another feature of the product. And they haven't had a full year at testing ads. The ads are based on the location of the visitor. So wherever somebody is in St. John, and they would get an ad specific to their location. And he also shared with me that they promoted it very heavily, and they had about 5,000 downloads. And moving right along, I also visited with the Director of Communications from Discover Illinois. They covered 21 counties. It was a very positive experience. I learned a lot. He was very generous with his information, the tools, the do's and do nots. And so we even talked about doing some collaboration. I also invited anyone from the boards, as well as I would love to spend some time with any of you going on field trips to some of the other sites to benchmark ourselves and to see, what are the things that are exciting visitors, what are the things that we might be able to do. I don't know if the TAC and TTC board were all that thrilled about that idea, but nevertheless, I think benchmarking yourself to people who are doing something very well is worth considering. The next item was, as a result of the conference that I went to and some of the other research that I've come across and it has been shared with me, is that co-marketing with other DMOs, other destination marketing organization, is really the way to move forward. So the research indicates that tourism and visitors want multi-day travel itineraries. And so consequently, for example, I might have mentioned in the past, Perryville is working with Herman, Missouri, and they're doing a promotion this year. There's other things that are going on with Route 66. And so Trish and I got into a conversation. We said, how about if we take the best of what each of us offers and leverage that? So, we're working together and we're spending our dollars wisely, and we're going to get that kind of lift. And she was really eager to do that. So we're going to have a 2-page insert in Leisure Group. That would be for operators who have 20 plus people, where they could come into St. John, they could do various activities. And then because we can't accommodate 20 to 40 people in bus loads, they would head on down to Perryville. So that is a 2-page insert that will go out in October. Also, that insert will go to the Missouri Tourism, and it can go to conferences as a handout. We can also put it up on our website. The grants, the tourism grants, I'm going to be finalizing that this week. There's some things I'm working on as far as advertising. I'm in the middle of talking with, well, I don't need to go into it, but anyway, I'm in the middle of talking with some vendors and solidifying some agreements. I've also applied for an operational assistant grant. What that does is that's a one-time thing, and we might be able to recoup some of the money that we spent on the existing website. I think that would be a home run. But we won't know till they announce it. The email marketing side of it this is really critical piece that I'm going to be launching, and that is a way for me to communicate with the entire community and also to segment, to do segment marketing within my own community, so I can talk specifically to the festival organizers, to Airbnbs, and so I can really slice and dice. At this point, I'm really just gathering data, also setting it up, a template, and so forth. And so it's a big project, you guys. And once it's launched and operational, it's going to be a real time saver. We'll be able to get feedback from our community digitally, surveys. It's just going to be a wonderful way to move forward and communicate. Social media. I'm in discussions with somebody who'll help us from an advertising perspective on social media. We've never really had a strategy or plan, and there has to be, a reason and a rhyme for what you're doing. And I do have an intern and also someone in the staff there at the city who's helping out on that. The website maintenance, I'm hoping you approve that. I kind of jumped the gun on that. I thought we were good to go after the TAC meeting and after they approved that. So I hope you'll move forward with that. And then the Welcome Center, as some of you may know, it was landscape mulch and so forth. It looks so much better. And also to follow up with that on the Welcome Center, I was in early discussions with the National Park Service and asked them if it would be okay to have a kiosk on the property, that it could be deeded indefinitely. And they were quite approachable on it and agreeable. And one of the reasons that this makes sense, of course, is that, for 20 years, people have been coming to the Welcome Center when they come into town, looking to get information and also maybe a drink or two and other things. And also, the park, national parks, is a huge attraction. So I think I could be a resource for you in terms of exploring various, kiosk manufacturers, and also going to visit Widget, who I hope to be a future partner. They have done the groundwork. They know who some of the kiosk manufacturers are that are very expensive and don't really deliver, and which ones, they could probably cull down a list that we can explore. So I could be a resource for you on that. Let's see. Today I went and visited Beige Farms, and I just want to say what a beautiful place. There's lots of beautiful places in St. John, and once we get all the information on the website, I believe it'll be a huge turning point for the whole entire community. Does anybody have any questions?
Tinley, this is Joe Steiger. Can you go back to the Welcome Center topic? Can you give us some input on your,
Sure.
I know we signed that cooperative agreement a couple years ago, but just your thoughts about turning over complete control of the Welcome Center to NPS?
Joe, what are my thoughts or recommendations? I'm not sure I understand your question.
Yeah, your thoughts on turning over control of the Welcome Center fully to the national parks. Do you think that's going to work for us, or
Well, I think I'm late in the game. I think, isn't that legally a done deal?
Right.
I
think
It's my understanding that that's already in the approval process from the federal government. So
Well,
my thoughts are, it would be great if you could staff a Welcome Center. I think staffing issues, and I've talked to other destination marketing organizations, for example, Herman, Missouri. They have the same issues that we do in finding volunteers and staff that will, greet visitors, inform them, even, staff the shops and things like that. So it's going to be an ongoing issue to find staff at the hourly rate that we're paying and, you know, to really do the jobs that's currently being done. Consequently, moving forward, people are very embracing technology. They want it fast, easy, comprehensive. It's on your phone. Here's a kiosk. I think it's the future. I think national parks is, you know, I mean, I think it's my understanding they're going to allow it to continue in the center for some time. Is that right, Happy? Or are we just completely giving it over to them?
It will have to be worked into the agreement. We were going to discuss that whenever we talked about the ordinance. But yeah, the idea is that we also keep a presence there.
Taylor, I have a question. This is Christy. When you were talking about the ads with the widget, would those ads go out to our local businesses? Because you said it was based on location. And have you heard any local businesses express any interest in any of those ads?
Well, it hasn't been approved or anything, but yes, I've had feedback from local vendors or local businesses that they're very interested in the advertising part of it.
Okay.
So the way that the lake does it is, you know, they did it for free for a while just to test it, and it's based on their locations. So if I'm standing in a specific area of the city, you know, I might get the museum, I get an ad to go into the museum and tour that, or, you know, to go to the Anvil and have, you know, steak or whatever. And it's based on that, and it's routed. So there would be 6 ads, and they wouldn't be the same thing either. So they do a round robin. And now they're going to start charging. But as Eric pointed out, you know, the price is a little testy. They're going to make it very, very friendly. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Any other?
Go
ahead.
Before I conclude, does anybody want any of the documentation that I shared with the board? I know I read a lot of it. I'd be happy to email it to you if you're interested in reading the full scope.
I think everybody wouldn't mind seeing the market research that you referenced, because we did not get the attached article. So maybe you could email that out to the council or myself.
Mayor, in
Yes, sure.
addition to that, Taylor, this is Gary. Could you send me any information you have, any links or anything of that nature with respect to Visit Widget? I need to do a lot of homework on that. I was not in meetings on that, so I'm out in right field playing basketball.
I'd be glad to do that.
Thank you, ma'am.
And you know, here's another thing. If you would like a personal demo, if the board would entertain that or feel that would help them better understand it, I'd be happy to arrange it. And they've already said they're willing to do a demo. We had the co-founder and co-owner who went through the product, and sometimes, you know, just having somebody run through something in 15 minutes, it's, okay. I mean, because there's a lot there, you know, to read and comprehend. And if that is something that you want me to put on the agenda, I'll forego any of my reporting.
This is Gary again. I just went around the room, kind of did a rough survey, so to speak. Yes, we would like to have a demonstration.
Great. I'll set that up, and I will also send you any of the documentation as well as you, Brian. And if anybody else wants it after just let me know.
Why don't we just send it to everybody with the information the mayor asked for, just to cover our bases? And thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Tanelin. Move on to Chief Crump.
Good evening.
Evening, Chief.
Not a whole lot to report this month. You can tell by the canine stats for our partner Ozzy. He's been very successful for us recently. As far as staffing, we did make a conditional offer to Zach Hedrick out of Park Hills to fill our last position. We're just waiting on his work staffs, but he'll come to us with 9 years of law enforcement experience. wrote a grant through MoDOT, traffic safety grant for equipment. We wrote for a couple more portable breath test machines. We had a couple go down, so the timing was right on it, so we put in for those. We participated in the Valley, the Transportation Fair at Valley. We helped with the French Festival and also the Down Syndrome Poker Run. We had guys help with that, and then stage guys that evening throughout the event just to make sure there were no problems. So that's about it.
Jason, I had one question under the facility. You said you're looking at a yearly deep cleaning touch-up. What are you?
Well, I kind of touched with Happy on that as well. Right now, you know, the cleaning guy comes in, he'll mop the floors and wipe things down, but, you know, I think at least once a year we probably need to move the mats out, take them, power wash them, you know, make sure any spots on the walls that need paint are getting touched up and not just let them go to where we end up where we were with the last building. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
And we'll move to Steve Wilson with Alliance.
Evening, everyone.
Hey, Steve.
Mike, you got a question already?
No, I'm good.
All right, everybody has my report. Main focus we've been on is sidewalks, concrete, tear outs. Rain's been let up for a long time now, so grass mowing's kind of minimal. So, but yeah, is there any questions?
No, Steve, I just had a comment. I was glad to see you in front of the maintenance shed down there while we were doing the sidewalks to go ahead and take care of your problem. Always more efficient to do it when everything is right there.
Yes.
And I seen you guys actually operating the equipment, so for that effort cost down.
I'm sure. Thank you.
Any other questions? Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Okay, we will move to a public hearing. The City of St. Genevieve, Missouri will hold a public hearing pursuant to the requirements of sections 99.800 to 99.865 of the revised statutes of Missouri to discuss the redevelopment project for the area known as the Downtown St. Genevieve TIF redevelopment area in the city, to determine if the redevelopment project is making satisfactory progress under the proposed time schedule contained within the approved plan for completion of such project. I will go ahead and open the public hearing at 6:38.
So you received a part of the public hearing that I'm going to go over now for your review. Is the long sheet. So this is being held in pursuant to the Real Property Tax Increment Allocation Redevelopment Act, known as the TIP Act. And this is to update the public on the progress of the Downtown St. Genevieve TIF. The purpose of the hearing is to evaluate the activity that has occurred within the redevelopment plan for this project. So the Downtown St. Genevieve TIF was approved by the city on April 11, 2013. The area includes approximately 157 acres. Generally covers the downtown area with extensions out Market Street and South 4th Street to include several properties accessed thereby. The first project envisioned by the redevelopment plan included the renovation of the property at 9 North Main Street, the southeast corner of Main and Merchant, which was formerly called Hotel St. Genevieve. In addition, the plan provided for this and other eligible projects within the TIF boundaries to recapture qualified costs by the city, reimbursing these expenses from the increment created by increased real estate, the pilots, and sales tax, the EATs. These are revenues above the base year of 2012 until the expiration date of the TIF in 2036. Following the city's approval of the redevelopment plan, Audubon Redevelopment LLC, Audubon, entered into an agreement with the city, the TIF note, to recapture up to $1 million for the work on the former hotel. Audubon submitted eligible expenses of $1,374,643.67. A note for $1 million was issued to Audubon on June 10, 2015. In September 2014, Thomas and Patricia Hooper, doing business as ASL Pewter, applied for TIF financing for renovations at 183 South 3rd Street. On October 9th, 2014, the City of St. Genevieve Board of Aldermen approved the redevelopment agreement for the ASL Pewter redevelopment project, authorizing a recapture of up to $33,416.16. The Hoopers submitted evidence of $27,791.70 in eligible expenditures. On May 8, 2015, a note was issued to them by the city in that amount. On January 24, 2019, the city approved Amendment Number 1 to the redevelopment plan, which removed certain properties acquired by nonprofit users from the redevelopment area, and 2, divided the remaining parcels in the redevelopment area into a redevelopment project area number 1, RPA number 1, and redevelopment project area number 2, RPA number 2. RPA number 2 includes 2 parcels located at 175 South 10th Street, which had a substantial decrease in assessed value since the original approval of the downtown St. Genevieve TIF. RPA number 1 includes all other properties within the redevelopment area, including Audubon and ASL Pewter projects. State statutes require that a special allocation fund be established for a TIF when real estate tax revenue or sales tax revenues within the redevelopment area are generated above the level of the base year of 2012, an increment is created. 100% of the increment for real estate taxes and 50% of the increment for sales taxes is deposited into the fund. It is from this fund that payments on notes are made. The downtown TIF for St. Genevieve requires that the base year for both pilots and EATS for each redevelopment area, project area, must be met, and the pilots and EATS for the individual projects must be met before the distribution is made. Pilots are payments in lieu of taxes. EATS are economic activity. So, following distributions have been made. These numbers come from the Regional Planning Commission. Thanks to them for Leslie for putting these together, and also Sue Schweiss, who puts it together for the city. So Audubon's has received EATS of $51,837.61 and pilots of $46,904.79. And ASL Pewter has received $1,891.50 and pilots of $9177.95. As of May 10, 2023, the fund balance in the RPA number 1 special allocation fund is $5,970.50, and the fund balance in the RPA 2 special allocation fund is 0. We could actually do away with fund RPA number 2, but I don't know if it's even worth trying to pursue. We may do that in the future. So the 2012 base numbers are RPA number 1, initial equalized assessed value was $5,535,324. The EATS were $44,415.81. In RPA number 2, the initial equalized value was $310,326. The EATS were 0. So for 2022, the latest figures that we have, RPA number 1 current equalized assessed value is $5,662,650. The EATS in RPA 1 are $241,576.53. In RPA number 2, the equalized value is $254,200. There are no EATS to report. And that's the report. So my thanks also to Mark Spikerman from Gilmore and Bell for going over that information. They did the initial drafting of the documents, and they're also keeping track of that as part of their ongoing, just what they do, and didn't cost us anything to have some updated information from them as well. So now we have to do this every 5 years. That's why we're bringing it to the board. Questions? That's my report.
Okay.
On the payments for the TIF disbursements, those are in the fall when we make those yearly on the approved notes.
I believe so. Yeah, I think we usually do it near the end of the year.
Okay. And I'm assuming because this was dated, it says these were May 10th of this year when we had these equalized assessed values.
Right.
I know the county assessor has sent out some new assessment values, so I guess that's probably.
Yeah, they'll go up now.
They probably will.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that might mean there's more funds in those RPAs.
Correct.
Okay. Or will be after this tax
Yeah,
year.
there'll be
anyway.
another number too. Yeah, higher number there.
And that property on RPA 2, you don't think it's worth doing anything with RPA 2 at this time?
At this point, it's been redeveloped.
Yeah, that's what.
And you know, didn't utilize anything that was from that RPA 2 TIF.
And it says there's 2 parcels with that.
And I don't have that in front of me.
That's all right. I
I
was
need to
just,
say.
or maybe it just that,
But I believe it is the Central States and the building down on.
I said there's two, so I didn't know if maybe just.
I think there were two
I
parcels.
believe there's two parcels
Oh,
there,
okay.
yeah.
I think it was,
But it's all that same complex,
Mhm.
okay.
yeah.
And they didn't, there wasn't any interest in doing a TIF project with that at the time? They just didn't apply for it?
Nobody approached us about it, no.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because it's probably I don't know. But it doesn't show that, I guess, in the assessed valuations.
Right. We're not collecting.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions, comments? Okay. I will close that public hearing at 6:46. Move to our second public hearing. The City of St. Genevieve, Missouri will hold a public hearing pursuant to Municipal Code Section 215.040 to hear evidence regarding the notice of abatement sent to Deborah Geck and/or anyone with ownership interest in the property located at 42 South Main Street. Evidence will be heard regarding this notice of abatement to determine if a public nuisance exists and whether to issue an order of abatement. I will open this public meeting at 6:47.
And just so, by way of introduction to this, we're going to do it a little bit more formal than what we have done in the past. In the event that the board does take action, and then I need to follow up with legal action after an abatement process is done. So we're going to have a more formal presentation of evidence. And with that, if Pam, if you could swear in Mr. Bova as the first witness to testify in the hearing.
Do you affirm that the evidence you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right, Mr. Bova, I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and I'm going to want you to walk through the presentation. Have you provided a copy of that to the board yet?
I have not.
Okay, do you have extra copies for them? Okay, can you just remind us of your position with the city?
Assistant City Administrator.
And go ahead, and if you can hand out copies of the report, and we'll go through that step by step. Okay, Mr. Bova, can you explain that the board may already know, details about this property, but if you could share with us the address and description of the property.
42 South Main Street, two-story frame structure in the middle of downtown.
And according to the land records of St. Genevieve, the owner of the property is Deborah Gegg, is that correct?
That's correct.
And we've had there's been a history of nuisance issues with this property, is that correct?
That's correct.
Can you give us a summary of the issues that we've had with that particular property?
Sure. On the presentation that I gave you that is also pulled up on the screen, if you want to reference it, there's a recent history there. There were nuisances identified, at least on record as far back as October 2009. There was an order to abate May 10th, 2010. Order to abate again in May 2013. There was a citation issued, but it's no longer in the system. I do not have the results of it. Courtesy letter and abatement letter were sent again in June and July of 2015 with no abatement. Courtesy letter was sent again in May 2016, and the abatement process was followed, but not fully. Ms. Gegg at that point hired an attorney who negotiated more time for her. Eventually there was a public hearing held, and Ms. Gegg's attorney dropped her as a client in December of that year. The city issued a warrant in January 2017. Property owner did not appear. Police department traveled to the last known workplace to serve and arrest her, but the owner was not found.
And let me stop you there. That was with regard to a municipal court prosecution at the time, correct?
For a nuisance abatement, yes.
Right, okay. Please continue.
Courtesy letter and notice of abatement letters were sent again in 2018, and the abatement process was followed, and the city completed the abatement at that time. Current lien on the property, we sent a special tax bill for that work, and the current placed it as a current lien on the property for the abatement work completed that year. We have since present day sent letters to the owner annually trying to make contact. We sent letters in 2019, 2020, 2021, and then again in 2022.
And the notice of this hearing was sent to the last known address of the property owner, correct?
Correct.
And it's my understanding it's been hard to track this person down, is that correct?
Correct.
And so pursuant to the ordinances and state law, a notice of this hearing was published in the Herald, is that correct?
Correct.
And in response, we just received, is it today or yesterday, received a response from Ms. Gegg
We received a letter this morning.
this morning. Were you able to make a copy for the board?
I have copies, but they are not in that packet.
Okay. And, yeah, I guess we could just summarize, she indicated she was become aware of the hearing but was not going to be able to make it. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
She was aware, she reiterated the address that we have used and then provided a history of reasons why she could not perform any abatement.
Okay. Can you hand out a copy of that to the board members? So is it email or a letter?
It was an overnight letter from the U.S. Postal Service.
All right, so let's talk about the property itself. And can you tell us, and I think you have photographs that are already on the screen, can you describe the nature of the property? This is a two-story house, is that correct?
Two-story historic structure, was originally a store and a home, and it's had multiple additions added onto it over the course of probably 150 years.
Okay. And can you walk us through these pictures one by one and describe what's in it and how what is shown in these pictures would be considered a nuisance under the city code?
Yes, the first few examples here are previous, just to show a history. The first page that you'll see on the screen there is from 2009. So those are various nuisance issues. The next page is from 2016. So the nuisances, again, were worse. The next page.
And so let me back up.
Yes,
So
sir.
the 2009 to 2016 issues, have those been mostly resolved as far as the it looks like debris and junk? that are
Yes.
out there? Okay. All right, moving on.
2018 is the next pictures. These are some of the nuisances that we last abated. So we held off the junk and trimmed all the vegetation in 2018. And if you'll go to the next slide, we then abated the building nuisance issues. There were various holes in the exterior structure and a lot of paint chipping off. We patched those holes and repainted the building.
And not to belabor that, but you know, when the city is entering to abate a nuisance, it is just to remove the nuisance and not to, at city expense initially, to improve the property or to make it beautiful, so to speak, but basically to abate the code violation, correct?
Correct.
And that's essentially what was done at the last occasion, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then moving on.
The next two pages are a history of communication. Would you like me to cover those?
Yes, please.
Nuisance notices were sent in 2009, 10, 13, 15, 16, and 18, as referred to in the earlier slides. Public hearings were held in 2016 and 2018, and the property was declared a public nuisance. More recently, a notice of violation letter was mailed to the property owner on April 11th, 2023 via U.S. mail, no response. We received an official neighbor complaint on May 17th, 2023. Attempts were then made to contact the property owner via telephone for a number we had on file. There was no answer and the number was no longer in service. Email, for an email we had from previous communications, there was no response received. Contact with other family members, there was no response to those family members, and several personal visits to the property. On 5/23 of 23, a notice of abatement public hearing was sent via U.S. regular mail, U.S. certified mail, and posted on the front door of the structure. Most of these letters were received back at City Hall as unclaimed, not deliverable, or unable to forward. I also went to the United States Post Office this morning to verify that no one has picked up the mail at the address that we sent both the letters and certified letters to. Additional attempts were then made to contact via social media searches, additional personal visits, and contact with the City of Pacific, Missouri, where the property owner owns additional property. No responses were received. Pacific also had a new phone number on file for the property owner, but there was no response received. Notice of abatement public hearing was published in the St. Genevieve Herald on May 31st, 2023 and June 7th, 2023. The same notice was additionally published in the Washington Missourian on June 7th, 2023. We had received no responses to any of these temps until this morning.
Okay. So what are the current nuisance issues that we're here to talk about today?
Not sure why the pictures aren't on screen, but I'm glad you have the handouts. So there are multiple broken plate glass windows on the front. You have some pictures there. That's this page. The next page shows several broken double hung windows. You can see the one on the left is on the north side, and you can see that the wood is falling off of the window. The one on the right is a front window, and you can tell basically the upper part of the double hung, that window is falling into the building.
And so because of the broken windows and these gaps, the weather is able to get inside the building in those locations.
Weather and pests, yes.
Yes. Okay.
The next page shows multiple holes in the exterior. You can see there's a picture on the left of a wooden clapboard missing, and that's one of at least 3. The picture on the right is a hole in the front of the building.
Where's the hole on the left on? Is that the front of the building as well?
Also on the front of the building.
And that's faces the street, is that correct?
Correct.
The main street. How far off from the sidewalk is the front of the building? It's pretty close, isn't it?
I'd say approximately 10 feet.
All right.
The next picture, we recently did vegetation abatement again, and that exposed additional issues. The picture on the left is another hole in the siding above one of the rear entry doors. Picture on the right is a picture of the decaying soffit. There are several locations where that's occurring.
And so can you tell if weather or animals or anything can get in with the picture on the left there? Do you know if is it open to the interior or is it just falling off?
I believe it's open to the interior. Certainly the picture of the soffit, we've seen squirrels go in and out of that hole.
Okay, so squirrels can actually get into underneath the roof, is that correct? In the
Correct.
interior of the building. Very good. And next?
The next shows the rear porch. You can see the picture on the left is the decking. Picture on the right is the ramp up to the decking and the siding that touches the rear porch. And as you can tell, the boards are basically falling off of the porch. You could easily step through that.
And so this is obviously a safety hazard because if any weight tried to step on this, or does just fall through the porch, is that correct?
Correct.
And the ramp too?
Correct.
Okay. All right, what's the next one?
The last picture is of the foundation stones. You can see much of the mortar in certain spots, particularly below the downspouts and gutters that leak, has worn away. There are some loose stones, not the large ones, but there are some loose stones in that foundation.
And I think it goes without saying, but obviously that creates a safety hazard because the foundation is a support for the floors and the walls, correct?
Correct.
And so some of those, without the mortar in there, the foundation is ultimately unstable, correct? Or can be unstable?
Could be, yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, so in your training experience and knowledge of this property and the codes of the city of St. Genevieve, is it your opinion that this property, due to the conditions as you describe it, is in fact a public nuisance and requires abatement by the city of St. Genevieve to correct those problems?
Yes.
And you believe that the problems that you described, in fact, are a safety risk for anybody that may enter onto the property?
And the public.
And the public?
Yes.
Okay. I don't have any other questions. I don't know if any of the board members had any questions of Mr. Bova.
Do you feel like city residents or visitors are also in danger just walking on the sidewalk on public property?
Yes.
Is that because of items may just fall off the building and strike somebody?
Including the plate glass on the very front of the building, yes.
Thank you. if there's no other questions, Mayor may want to just close the hearing, and then I'll ask the board to make a vote. Yeah.
We have a,
One quick question. Number one, on her letter, where she says, where I reside, I'm under medical care, but she's never disclosed where she's at now to where we can send correspondence to, correct?
Number two, she provides her mailing address, which is the one we use where we get no response.
Right, but above that, she says where she currently resides, or where she resides now, but she never did state where that's at, so where we can start sending the letters there.
Correct. And the return address on the envelope that she mailed this to is the same that is listed in number two.
What do we do with the money order? Do we put that in escrow or something along those lines?
She sent, well, if you could mention that she did send a cashier's check in the amount of, I think, $300.
She sent a cashier's check in the amount of $300 asking us to hire someone to mow her lawn.
Yeah, so the
She wrote here that it was a money order.
Yeah.
Was it a cashier's check or a money order?
It's a money order.
Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. So I think what the plan would be either to return that or to use it for the purpose that she puts in there to cut the grass so that a future abatement would not occur, but it's irrelevant to the issues that we currently have with the property because we don't have a problem with the property not having the grass cut.
David, this has been an ongoing, thing, and I'd probably like to be as sympathetic as anybody, but, as I read Articles 6, 7, and 8, I have no sympathy. Here's a piece of property that could be sold. I guess there's some kind of personal connection there and stuff, but, leaving it deteriorate the way it is, there's going to be nothing left.
Demolition by neglect.
Right. I mean,
Well, if we could, unless there's more questions of the witness, we can close the hearing portion of it, and then you can debate on whether you're going to issue the order for abatement, which will then be served by the city administrator. I'm not calling additional witnesses as I don't think it's necessary to establish the nuisance. And also we want to make sure that we're following the procedure necessary to present relevant evidence with regard to the nuisance issue. But certainly people can make public comments, if that is on the agenda.
I do just have one quick question. How much does it cost, or how much the most recent time that we had to go in and deal with the abatement issues? What did that cost the most recent time?
The abatement performed in 2018, which was vegetation, hauling the truck away, and the building, was $2,263. The abatement that we've performed already prior to this public nuisance hearing for the building has been another $3,900.
So we have liens for those two amounts then on the property?
We have not sent her the bill for the $3,000 yet. The other has been recorded as a lien against the property.
And those are the only two liens that we have, the only two amounts that we have put on lien on the property.
There's one lien for $2,263. The bill for the work we've performed so far and any work that we may perform as a result of this will be sent to her as a bill, and if not paid, then recorded as a special tax bill lien.
Okay.
What do you expect that amount to be for this final?
I don't know. I mean, we will do the minimal necessary, so most likely board up the spots that need it, so it won't be terribly expensive.
Thank you, David. I will close the public hearing at 7:05.
Oh, we may have someone else who wants to speak.
But didn't we can close the public?
Yeah, so I would prefer to keep this as clean as possible because we may be taking legal action. We've conducted a hearing. I think now would be the time for the board to discuss whether you adopt an order for the abatement and instruct the happy to serve that on the property owner.
Okay.
I recommend we do.
So I need a motion, a second, and a vote.
I'll second it.
Okay, so I have a motion from Alderman Smith and a second from Alderman Prince. Do we need to roll call that?
You don't need to, but you
Okay.
certainly can if you want.
We'll just go with a straight vote then. All in
So-
favor?
so, yes.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
There's a vote.
Were you opposed or were you in favor? Alderman Bennett?
Yes. Favor.
In favor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I joined.
The delay.
I think, yeah, there's a little delay there.
And so what I'd like for you all to do, which is the technical requirement, is to adopt these proposed findings of fact, conclusions of law in order to abate the nuisance as presented. Because this is the actual order that's going to be sent to the property owner.
Mr. Bishop, I'm sorry, what was your instructions again, sir?
Well, it's not instructions, it's advice.
What's your advice?
If you could approve the findings of fact, conclusions of law in order to abate nuisance, which is a formal requirement that we have to serve this upon the property owner.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so I have a motion from Alderman Prince, and I'm sorry, I missed the second.
Alderman Eidman.
Alderman Eidman. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
Barely need to sign it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bart. Move to public comment.
This is about the previous abatement. I wrote a letter to get this started. I've been dealing with this property since 2006 and 7. I've been before the Alderman in 2016 and 17. I've been to the Alderman about the money that was put as a lien on her property, and I went to the county for them to try to get it, and they refused. They said that was a property, that was something that the city had to do, not the county. And as far as the property's concerned, I've had some expense because the water comes off of her roof every rain that's heavy, and I get 2 to 3 inches of water in my driveway. And I've had to put a positronic drain in my driveway that goes out to the backyard to even take care of it, and it doesn't take care of it all. Also, he mentioned the north side of the building. I've taken 2 window seals that have fallen on my driveway and thrown them away because there's nothing to do. I have nobody to go to. Nobody does anything. So ultimately, I've had a lot of people come by and say, do you know who owns this property? I'd like to buy it. I've had relatives of this lady come by and say, what have they done? And some of them, one of the relatives is self-serving, but still, he's trying to find out what's going on. So I just, the lien against it is just going to stay there because she's not going to pay it, in my honest opinion, until the property sells. And I don't, and what I was trying to do in 2017 is take that lien and make it where the person would have to pay it immediately or something would drastically happen. You guys didn't want to do anything. The county didn't want to do anything. So this is where we are now. We had a great mayor. I don't know you, sir, but he exacerbated the problem because he basically went on the property and mowed the grass. And when he quit mowing this year, the grass was up to here. And I've been dealing with skunks, mainly because they're feeding cats at the welcome center and they're leaving food out. But still, there are people, that's a good atmosphere for animals back there. And I've had an uptake in snakes and voles and groundhogs. So it's in your hand now. What I hear from people in town is, gosh, that's a good looking building. And for you that don't know it, if you look in my driveway, there is a part of that building that is actually log cabin. And it is historical. So, something should be done to it. I hope they don't tear it down.
Now, the other issue you're gonna have to deal with if somebody gets in there and buys it for either offices or apartments or something, is parking. Because parking down there, now they're parking on both sides of the street. There's a no parking sign on the other side of the street. And nobody enforces it. So you've got a lot of issues if something comes into this property that you're gonna make it better. And I hope we do, because we got a lot of people, I wanna see come to St. Genevieve. That's all I have to say. Questions?
Thank you. Any other public comment at this time? Okay. I will move to the consent agenda.
Motion to approve?
Second?
A motion and a second. Any discussion on the topics at hand? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Move to new business. This is a first reading of bill number 4573. This is an ordinance approving the transfer of the Welcome Center located at 66 South Main Street to the National Park Service and authorizing the mayor and staff to assist in that transfer process.
Discussion.
Go ahead, Alderman Steiger.
Just questions, because this was before my time, and so I know we signed that cooperative agreement a couple years ago, and I don't know what kind of clawbacks that we have, kind of maybe we want to initiate, or I'm assuming that the national park system will stay in place for perpetuity, but I don't know what kind of terms that we were going to try to put inside of this, the agreement.
So this was a 5-year agreement to cooperate at this point. One of the points in there, I think it's item D, or item 4, was that the city would look at donating the intention of the city is to donate the property to the National Park Service as, just as part of the Park Service property, and incentivize their being in St. Genevieve. Along with that, we've made changes and adjustments in the Welcome Center, and they've always told us that we have a space there, as long as we want one. At this point, we haven't signed anything. The reason for this ordinance is that to move this forward, this donation, they wanted something that it was in particular to this particular information here, this particular move that we want to transfer it to the National Park Service. Because I pointed out what we had adopted before, which was an ordinance and the agreement that we have between the two, but that wasn't good enough. So it's like, all right, what do you want us to put into an ordinance that we can talk about and take before the board and to make that transfer? So we don't have any agreement yet to actually make the transfer. That's why the language is as it is, that we will have to, in effect, put that together and make that transfer. So in that, I think, is where you're talking about making sure that we have them set aside space inside for our own people to be able to man the Welcome Center. What the tourism director is asking for is a space outside to also have, we could do electronic board of some sort, using Visit Widget, where somebody can come in and it's after hours, and they can be able to find stuff in town. So we've got a number of thoughts that we have on that. The other thing is the EV. My concern was we want to put the EV in there. Can we, will that cause a problem with trying to make that transfer? Because it would be off our electric on their property, because we're not pulling it out of the building. Would they approve, or will we have to split that cost of having a charging station there? So that's why we're looking at a separate spot. But you are looking at some items that, yes, need to be discussed and put into an agreement for the actual transfer or the deed.
So this just gives you, the mayor and the staff, the authority to move forward on this?
Yeah.
Okay.
We already had that under the
Right,
cooperating
yeah.
agreement.
Yeah.
But they wouldn't accept that as is. So All right, fine, we'll send it as an ordinance. So this is the complication you get into with the federal government.
Yeah.
Is there a way to do the, sorry, but is there a way to do the wording like we had discussed on the phone, that if they ever vacate the property, it comes back to us, or?
If they'll agree to something like that. I don't see them ever getting rid of the property, but I think the concern is, yeah, if they would, you want it to stay at least where it's not going to a business, it's
Right.
staying, being used for a visitor type purpose, a tourism purpose.
If they built a new welcome center in a different location, then what happens to that building and or lot?
And then we could let's put something in there then, as Alderman Prince points out, it comes back to the city.
And I mean, if they're using it for national park purposes, I don't know if that's such a bad thing. Maybe, maybe they build a bigger and better welcome
Well, I
center
mean,
in
if
some
they
place.
vacate the premises, completely,
Yeah.
then it should revert back to us. But
Yeah, instead of boarding it up.
Yeah.
You can have a reverter clause in there, but it's generally going to be, you can have it for the use of the property, whether they agree to it or not. It's going to be a contractual agreement. I think if they're, just off the top of my head, if they were going to agree to something like that, it would be if they were to sell it or to dispose of the property. I doubt that they are going to say, if we're not using it, it'll revert back. Because, like you said, they could build a new welcome center and they could just have this as for future use, and they aren't going to want to have that kind of, I would expect, that kind of restriction. But, Happy can certainly talk to them, and there's a lot of creative ways you can address that type of issue. If the parties are agreeable, you can even have within the deed kind of a reservation of a right to use a portion of it, but you're not going to want to define like an internal area. You may define it in space, like say 12 foot by 12 foot space or something, that the agreement of the parties, so that you're not suing over them about that. Of course, all that depends on the parties agreeing to it. And I think the intent of the original agreement was, they're going to put a national park here, then we're going to want them to take over the management of that and deed that property to them and make it their responsibility. And also it's an asset for the public. That's why the board approved the previous ordinance. But all that can be worked on. This doesn't have any of the specifics about the transfer. It doesn't make the transfer. We'd have to have a deed. And you'd want a contract before the deed so that all the terms are spelled out.
I mean, one of the reasons I remember that conversation that we had in that negotiation was the national parks can't actually hand out or pass any information about the city of St. Genevieve out. That's why it's important that we have a specific area, like Mark said, such and such by such and such inside there, so we can provide, a place for, that to happen and stuff like that. But I think we need to be specific about it.
Yeah, we have our rack cards, we have our television information, we've got our booth that, people can stand at, and we have our welcome center employees there. So we always have that information available, but yeah, they can't be specific about trying to help somebody with something that's not National Park Service.
Anything else? Because with that being said, then I'm going to say, make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on the topic?
So do we have, before we approve that, though, don't we have to approve it, those changes, or we're not in the specifics of those changes?
This is just giving the mayor and the staff the
Right,
opportunity to move
okay.
forward. So,
We're just pushing towards finding an agreement, I think, is the idea here.
Right.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
aye. Now, I know we don't like to do second readings.
I don't think there's any time.
Do we need this done, or do we have time?
We don't have, I told them it's probably going to be another 3 weeks before we get something back to them.
Is it something we could do a second reading on to get it underway, or do you need it? I'm just asking.
It's up to you all.
I'm going to make a motion for a second reading to get this thing going, because we've been waiting for a long time for this to happen. No fault of our own.
I'm going to second that.
Okay. So I have a motion and a second for a second reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Who knows?
Okay, I believe there was just one opposition on that. We will move forward with a second reading. So this will be a second reading of Bill number 4573, which is an ordinance approving the transfer of the Welcome Center located at 66 South Main Street to the National Park Service and authorizing the mayor and staff to assist in that transfer process.
Motion to approve.
I will second.
Motion from Alderman Prince and a second from Alderman Smith. Could you do a roll call, please, Pam?
Alderwoman Clegg-Harn.
Yes.
Alderman Smith.
Yes.
Alderman Donovan.
Yes.
Alderman Bennett.
Yes.
Alderman Eidman.
Yes.
Alderman Rainey.
Yes.
Alderman Prince.
Yes.
Alderman Steiger.
Yes.
8 yes, 0 no's. Bill number 4573 now becomes ordinance 4495.
Thank you, Pam. Any other business to discuss?
I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Has anybody heard anything back about the 911 payment issue from anyone in your areas?
I've got one.
Do you have?
And they were mixed, leaning against no.
Is that something that we should probably discuss at the next meeting to get them an answer?
I think they were going to report back to us, was my
Yeah, they had,
understanding.
there was something that you wanted, something else, some information that you wanted.
Well,
Meeting with ambulance
the ambulance
Yeah.
district, I think they're set to meet next Monday.
27th.
Or next Tuesday, one of the two. So I
So if
think
we do,
we're,
we'll bring it back as a work session.
Okay.
item.
I think the idea was to see if all the parties were going to agree.
Do we have anybody attending that? That's not something I don't think we normally attend. Do we have anybody that wants to attend that ambulance district?
Does
He's
Ryan
involved.
attend that, the ambulance district?
No, just the 911 task
Yeah.
force.
Just in time for it, okay.
And you, I don't know when they normally meet.
Don't know offhand.
Can I,
Yeah.
if that topic's taken care of, thank you. May I just ask a couple questions, just for guidance? I've been in contact with the city administrator, the mayor, and hearing a lot of things you've already tackled and had meetings on, so I'm just trying to level set and get myself caught up to where we are. I just need guidance on how I go moving forward on train car connections with the noise and the decibels, and asking for next steps. And also, in addition to not just the noise the train's making, Elizabeth, the operations manager at the line company, said they don't do it during the weekends. It's understanding that they don't do it during the weekends, and they do. Anyway, I don't want to belabor it. Just I need guidance on how we can start getting people who, residents, constituents who are concerned. What's the next step? How do we meet with them? What would you recommend? How do I get on the docket? And there's also lime debris that's building up along the rail right now, the railroad, which, according to the research from some of the constituents, it's harmful to residents and constituents if it's caught up in the air and breathed in. It's harmful. So I need that to be aware of that as well. So there's the noise decibel issue with the trains, moving the cars around. And there's also the lime debris buildup because it's falling out of the cars, which is hazardous to our constituents. Next topic I also need guidance on. I'm looking at you because I need your advice. With respect to the no parking in the corners, we have a concern with people parking right up on the corner, almost getting hit. A couple accidents that have almost occurred on the corner of Market and Main and Merchant and Main because they're parking right up to the corner because there's no yellow. I just wanted to ask how we would go forward trying to identify those two areas to be painted.
Trying to get a price from Steve on that to answer that question right off. I want to see what the cost is going to be because it's also a maintenance item that we have to do every year before it's sure to fit.
Great, thank you,
So,
sir.
Yep.
And one more thing I just want to bring up. You know those tennis courts we have down at the park that are down by the baseball field park? Has anybody ever thought of using those as pickleball courts?
The answer would be yes, but we're also looking at the master plan. So that would be part of that whole master plan design that's been looked at.
The master plan, that I need to educate myself more on that.
Yeah.
Can I hear more about that a little bit later as well?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your patience.
I'm sure the park board would love for you to come and to their meeting.
Eric, would you like me to come to one of your meetings and talk about pickleball and master plan? He's not listening to me. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah. Just so you know that there are pickleball courts also out at the county community center. Thank you.
I just learned what pickleball was a few weeks ago, so I'm going to hold my hand up and say, pickle what?
It's quite
And
popular.
tournaments.
It is becoming really hot.
Kathy, I have one other thing about the work comp. You know, seeing our mod factors going from 1.61 up to 2.07, which is a substantial monetary increase or cost to the city and stuff. I know whenever we talked about those and met with, you know, the agents and stuff, not the carriers and stuff, but there was a lot of information that they would provide out there that might help, you know, get rid of some of the risks. And have we been using any of that, or have we really pushed?
Part of that came from previous until we moved Public Works over to Alliance.
Right.
So that's some of what those numbers are coming from. So we left MPR, we left with a zero mod, and then we had our incidents, and that's what hurt us as we go on for the next couple of years. I think it's after this year, we can then pull that year off, and our mod number should come down. So MEM also offers various programs, and Greg Lotus from Lakin had said, we're going to also do more to help you over the next year. So he has promised to include more of that to be included into what we need to adopt in our personnel policies or things that we need to adopt. Last year was pretty good. And I think we've adopted a number of the policies that MEM originally proposed to us. We've done that in our personnel policy. And we try to follow that, their recommendations.
I know that same commitment was made by him previously. You know, I think we need to really push to hold them to that. I mean, because of the amount of premium we pay, it's a big deal.
Well, we've also started online testing for employees. That's part of the merit, not the merit, but the safety bonus that we do at the end of the year. So I mean, that's part of what we also included with that. That includes safety, you know, being careful where you walk and slip and falls, that kind of stuff. So we have been incorporating that.
Yeah, the safety compensation, not the safety.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I knew I said that wrong. The safety thing.
So I did want to mention with the railroads, they're exempt from local regulations. So generally with the noise, a locality is not going to be able to effectively regulate that. I'm not defending it, but the federal laws preempted it so that the railroads aren't subject to different requirements in every town that they pass through across the country, every town in the state. So we've been preempted, which means we can't regulate the train operations. With regard to allegedly toxic substances flowing off their property, it's a little bit different. But that'd have to be documented or whatever that may be. But certainly the noise, it's just unfortunate that's, unless it's something beyond the normal activities of a train, which they're loud, there's almost nothing the city can do.
Well, that being said, there's a couple suggestions that they have, and I think, now that I know that, and thank you, we're hoping that if we meet with the powers to be and share our concerns, they might slow down.
Oh, sure, yeah.
When they bring the
Whatever
cars
they're going
together,
to, yeah.
if they didn't do it so fast, it wouldn't be as loud, number one, and there is that line. And I guess what I'm trying to do is just open up a conversation with, I think her name's Elizabeth, from the lime company. She's fantastic, and I don't even think she thinks they're doing it in the weekend, to be honest, because that's what she told them last time. But anyway, thank you, Mark. I appreciate that, sir. And now that I know, I guess we have no other option but to move forward trying to meet them and talk to them. And
So we've negotiated a meeting with them before,
Okay.
And it was, my understanding from Mississippi Lime at that time was we weren't going to meet again. That was the last time. So if they're willing to meet again, we can try to set something up, but we had to delay it 2 or 3 times because the residents couldn't coordinate a time to meet with them.
would I be within my jurisdiction I work with her for supervised business experience for the high school. Would it be within my jurisdiction or purview to contact her myself just to meet with her? Or is that something I should do through the mayor and you?
No, I think you can reach out yourself. One of the things that I would
Mark, is that
suggest.
cool?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have jurisdiction, so it's just you talk to somebody, you can talk to anybody in the town about anything.
Okay.
So
You're just not going to be able to bind the city about anything, and you're not acting in an official capacity.
I'm just hoping education might help to, educating them about what's going on might help just divulge this. But maybe that'd be helpful.
And the other suggestion I might have is I'll recommend somebody to contact at Jason Smith's office, because you're talking federal railroads, let them look at that issue.
I would appreciate
It
that.
would almost be the same as with the Lyme issues. We don't regulate the air and.
And they have a machine, just to let you know, they have a machine, a device, a car that goes by and cleans it.
Cleans it, yeah.
They just haven't done it in a long time. It's piling up. And it would just take a clean. That information would be great.
Are they still federally protected even though they are privately owned now?
Yeah, I mean, all railroad, all railroads are privately owned.
That's true.
Even if it's private tracks?
Yeah, I mean, all railroads are private property.
Okay.
They're leased, so they're still Union Pacific property. It's just leased by, a forced lease by Mississippi Line.
Copy that.
Gotcha.
But you're also dealing with another party. You have Mississippi Lime, which this product is in their cars, but you have Road and Rail, which is actually handling the actual moving of the cars on Union Pacific property.
Okay.
That's the,
I guess I'm just asking to just get the information I need, meet with the powers to be, and just say, can we clean the Lime up, and can we just maybe slow down the connections? And that would help alleviate, I think, a great deal. And I'll do that if you give me the information, sir. Yep.
surely Mississippi Lime can help you with that.
I would hope.
Because they're contracting
And they're good people up there, so I'm hoping it just goes, because there's about 17 constituents.
Mark, just curious, because we're talking about how they're exempt, but they do have to operate within a certain standard on the rail, correct?
Yeah.
There's legislation
we're
or.
we're not the regulatory authority.
Correct, but they are governed by a safety commission of some sort that oversees that.
Right, but that's, yeah.
Those are probably fairly wide parameters.
I'll take any and all
I'm not
information.
familiar
Yeah.
with what the regulations are.
So if Christie,
There-
Happy, anything you want to share with me would be great. I'm just trying to get this resolved because I know what it's like, because my in-laws have a home right there. Right, I mean, like right there. We just kind of got used to it. But this year it seems to be, and the last couple of years it's been affecting more and more people. So if there's any information or anybody from the line company that'd like to contact me, Gary Smith, Alderman Ward 1. Thank you.
Mark, do you think that exemption holds through, I mean, from the big Union Pacifics and Burlington Northerns? It holds through onto like a third party like Road and Rail that who actually does that?
Yes,
It does?
yeah. I mean, they're exempt from local regulations, which is why the city's out of, we can't regulate the speeds, we can't regulate the noise. They go off the tracks. It's a different issue, because then it's like a nuisance type issue if there's a pollution type issue. So we can do some things with regard to that because they're leaving the railroad property. But like we had discussed it years ago about there's a bunch of overgrowth brush, and I said we could do something about that, but we couldn't deal with the speed of the trains coming through town. Whether we agree with it or not, then the federal law has preempted local. It's interstate commerce. It's part of the interstate commerce, so they can pull that authority back from us. Even if it's just going from local to local, it's still interstate commerce. They have a pretty expansive view of their powers. I did want to mention that I'm sorry to belabor the meeting, but I would like for you to think about putting on the agenda, whether it's open or closed session, possible litigation to deal with this nuisance abatement issue. Because the county will not collect on the special tax lien, but we can, it would be by filing a petition against the property owner after the lien has been recorded. So that means after the notice period, work is not done, then we enter and do the work, then we file the second lien. Then I have to get a judgment to perfect the lien, to basically reduce it to a judgment. And then if it's unpaid, of course, as soon as it's unpaid throughout the whole process, then I can get an execution order, which would be essentially a sheriff's sale of the property. Of course, at any time through that, then the property owner can pay the judgment, which will include the attorney's fees and costs. But if there's a failure to do that, then the property can be sold to the highest bidder on the courthouse steps. So there's an avenue to deal with that, but you have to authorize me to move forward with the litigation. So you may want to put that on the agenda, either open or closed. 30 days, because she's got to have 20 days to abate it, but we have to serve her with it, which I think we're gonna have to serve by publication because we can't get it to her. So there's a delay on that. So it's 30 days, it'd be 20 days from the date of notice. So.
Okay, we'll do that.
One more thing I forgot to mention, I don't want to belabor anything either, but you know how out here, the bridge on 4th Street and the sign, the billboard, there's plants and debris and things growing up where the billboard's almost being blocked, and I was asked if I could look into who might be able to go into that area and clean it up.
I thought Sam Huey was over there the other day.
This was 3 days ago, it was reporting me, I didn't get a chance to look at it tonight, but I guess down there on the other side of the bridge,
Yeah.
I just was asked to bring that
So
up.
it's not the city's, it's privately owned, K&J is maintaining it. It's a privately owned piece of property.
Okay.
And then the sign just stays there as long as the people that are on the sign pay for somebody to cut that grass and stuff. But I'll take a look, maybe K&J just needs to do a little.
And I'm just talking about the stuff that seems to be appearing to come up from the creek or the river and kind of, growing up, is all I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it's kind of like, looks like it's coming from the river. Anyway, did my job there. There you go. Thank you.
Thought there might be a resolution on there talking about the parking issue on Walnut Street. I didn't see that on the agenda. I meant to get a call into you sooner, but I'd like to see a resolution on.
It'll be an ordinance, just so you know, because it has to be adopted into the code.
Yep.
And this was for the parking for the...
On
okay.
Walnut Street, yeah.
Okay.
I sent some of you
I
guys.
think, the photos.
I'm sorry, I saw that, I thought, well, you were just wanting everybody to look at it, consider it, and then so I didn't put anything on.
Yeah.
Okay.
No worries.
Anything else? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you all.